question is, who were and are Jesus, Mohammed, Krishna, Buddha, and why does it seem that they've been carjacked?
I do not believe any of them drove an automobile.
I mean by religion, what we perceive as religion.
Yes. They are reflective representations of the collective consciousness. In a sense, you could say they are the world spirit, the world soul. Does that make sense, first of all? They are reflections of the world spirit. Your entire planet's oversouls all collected into one expression. Each of those are reflections of that idea. Each and every one of them fundamentally were telling you the same message we're telling you now. You are also Christ's, Buddha's, Krishna's, Muhammad's, Wavoka's. You are all the same as them. Every single one of them said that to all of you. But because of the compartmentalization that created disconnection and fear, the majority of your planet could not handle seeing that reflection, because it only reminded them of how unlike that reflection they were. And when you are reminded of how unlike your true self you are, and you are compartmentalized in that way, then the reaction from fear that occurs is called resentment. And when you resent being told that you are not who you really know you are, then the fear grows and the resentment grows, and you wind up usually killing the one reminding you of who you are. And also you create the idea of intermediaries saying, well, I know that's a lot to handle, so I'll filter it for you for a small nominal charge. So you create more dissociation, more in-betweeners, and you remove and remove and remove and remove yourselves from the original idea that you are also the same as the messenger. Does that make sense?
Yes, completely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take a day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, thank you. We would like to begin this transmission in the following way. With the idea that we have labeled shifting through infinity. We have, for quite some time, been talking with you about the concept of parallel realities, and your society is becoming more and more familiar with this concept in a variety of ways. Many even of your entertainments on your television sets and your motion pictures are now presenting ideas, and have for quite some time, of parallel realities. But the idea is that while these may seem still to be something exotic, something unusual, something that you don't necessarily know how to access, the truth is that you access them all the time. Every day, every moment. In fact, you access them billions of times per second. The idea really is to understand, as we have discussed before, is that everything already exists right now. It is all one thing. There is only here, there is only now. What you call the past, what you call the future, in a sense, are simply matters of illusionary perspective. The future and the past are perspectives, not places. They don't exist as places. They are just another way of seeing another now, another angle of the now. All the different things you call moments, this moment, that moment, from your linear space-time perspective in physical reality, are simply different perspectives, different angles, different points of view of the same now moment of existence, because there is only one. All things exist in all forms right now. So therefore, from a linear perspective, the idea of everything existing all at once is expressed in a space-time framework that you understand as multiple, simultaneously coexisting parallel realities. That's the only way for that concept to exist in a space-time referential frame. But the idea is that every single one of those in existing now is its own reality, its own universe, absolutely total and complete. But the idea is that it is like a series of frozen snapshots. Every single moment unto itself actually has no motion in it. The idea is very similar, as we have often explained, to the analogy of what you call your motion picture film, which is composed of several frames, each of which, unto itself, exhibits no motion whatsoever. But when you run it through your projector and when you pass the light through it onto the screen, you get the illusion of motion by picturing one frame at a time in what you call a sequence. Reality is actually structured much that way. This day of your time. How are you all? This transmission, we would like to focus on an idea we have called, in your language, sacred circuitry. You all have diagrams of some, just a few, of the sacred circuits. What this is a reference to is a particular tool, a particular technique, a particular reflective idea that is unique in a very specific way. Most times what we have shared with you as tools and techniques and permission slips have come from our own society's understandings, our own society's applications of these principles that we discuss with you. While we have ourselves adopted and adapted this idea within our society, this particular technique comes as a gift, as a sharing, handed down from other societies in creation. We will only go so far back as to say that while it did not originate with them, what is relevant to this particular interaction is that this particular technique was also adopted and adapted by the civilization, the physical civilization in the star system of Sirius, and handed down to the hybrid civilization that we have already spoken of, that we call the first ones, the Shalanaya or the Yael, who have handed it down to our civilization, the Sasani people, and now we hand it down to you. So this is the first time that we are sharing a technique, a tool, a permission slip, a gift handed down as a gift from other civilizations in a specific succession. And you are next in line.
Good. So this is important. Are you saying, therefore, that I am the only one creating my version of them? There is no co-creation in what I am perceiving of them. That is totally my creation.
You are picking up on cues that may be representative of vibrational frequencies they are giving off, so that what you are creating in your reality may be somewhat representative of how they might create themselves to be were they doing it. But yes, it's actually your painting. It's made out of your paint. Even though they may in some sense be posing for the portrait, you still have to create the portrait in order to see them. To begin this transmission, we would like to recognize the idea that many of you have requested more information about the process of acceleration in your transformation. And so we would like to address that subject with the title Slipstream, to allow you to become much more superconductive, much more hyperconductive of the energy that you are, flowing through your being, flowing through your body, flowing through your consciousness, so that you can, as you say, gain a handle on how to allow this energy to serve you best in the most conscious way possible. What is acceleration of energy? What is the transformation? What is actually happening in the idea you call the transformation on your planet at this time?
Hello, Bashar.
And are you good day?
I'm a bit nervous.
Oh, nervous. How exciting.
Yes. I'm not very fond of large groups.
Where is there a large group?
Right here.
Oh, are you standing in the middle of China?
No, not really.
Compared to the idea of certain areas on your planet, this is a relatively small group, is it not?
Yes.
Feel better?
Much better.
Do remember that in reality, you're actually not standing in front of anyone but reflections of yourself. Remember, even though there are other beings, the only way you can perceive them is to create your version of them in your reality. So everything you're seeing is actually your creation. So it's your group. What are you afraid of?
Thank you.
It's like being in a hall of mirrors. Are you afraid of your reflections in the hall of mirrors? Oh no, I'm surrounded. Oh yes, it's all just me. It's all just you. In different ways, in different perspectives, that's all. So really, you're talking to yourself right now in an empty room. Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is my first time seeing you, and I just...
This is our first time seeing you.
Yes.
What a coincidence. How often does that happen? Remember, there are 227 million of my people listening in.
Is this thing on?
The very nature, the very notion even of living on a planet is alien to many, many beings on different levels and different dimensions of reality. They look upon you also as you do to them, as an alien life form. How can something live on the surface of a ball, floating in an isolated sector of space? It is an alien concept for many beings. So understand that to many, many beings within creation, you are highly exotic. Do you need to learn the sacred mantra? So what? Big deal. What you are is vibrating consciousness, vibrating energy. You are resonance. You are a frequency. You are a pitch of energy. That is your unique signature vibration. Physical reality doesn't exist outside of you. It exists inside of you. It is just an illusion. It is just a reflection. Again, in the same way as we often use by analogy, as a physical glass mirror. When you see your reflection in the mirror, you know that's not really you over there in the mirror. You know you're here. You know that's a reflection. If you see the reflection frowning, you don't walk over to the mirror and try to force the reflection to smile. When you want to see the reflection smile, you know what you have to do. You have to smile first. But if you wait for the reflection to smile first, you'll be frowning for the rest of your life.
Well, my question is, we're creating our own reality, and
Yes.
so in our reality, there's really just ourselves and other people that...
There exists yourself in your reality, and your version of other people you have created in your reality to interact with.
That's it?
That's it. All right, let's explain this again.
Okay.
It is all real and it is all an illusion. It is not this or that, it is this and that. The idea is that you have created them by agreement in the consensus reality to have an orchestration that may be serving them, maybe more than you understand how it needs to serve you, but nevertheless, you are still serving some purpose with every one that you interact with. But the way you interact with people is by creating your version of them in your reality so that you can see them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing them. They'd be invisible to you. They are interacting with you. You are interacting with them, but you're interacting with them through a simulation that you've created in your reality. Does that make sense?
I think so. And so when I'm having a direct interaction with someone, is that both of us agreeing to like co-create at
You
the same?
cannot have an interaction without an agreement.
Okay.
And teaching them that they are all self-empowered, teaching them what power truly is, will go a long way on your planet, for it takes no power to destroy. It takes power to create. Build a tower of blocks. That takes creation. That takes power. Knock the tower down, no effort at all. No power at all. But primarily, it will mostly come down to resisting your natural self. Because when you resist and reject your natural self, how can nature do anything but reject you? You follow? Would you like our definition of doubt?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Doubt is a 100% trust in a belief you don't prefer.
Thank you. Very good.
You see, none of you are ever actually in doubt. You are always 100% in trust of something. The question is, what are you trusting in? Do you love it?
I do.
Are you passionate about it?
I am.
Are you passionate about being passionate about it?
Yeah.
One moment. Are you passionate about it? Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes.
With that, I've made some what would be considered historically to be drastic changes in my lifestyle, which is basically to leave a job behind that I don't like and go in pursuit of things that I do like.
Yes. Now, as a reminder before you continue,
Right.
you all must also take a moment to honor whatever belief systems you do have within you, because it doesn't help you to jump off a cliff if you don't believe you have a parachute.
Ego negotiation. Absolutely.
Yes.
I've
Ego
actually,
negotiation.
Absolutely. That's
all right.
Until that time, are there any? I know that a prediction would be only the current
sensing of the energy that exists at the moment.
Exists now, but
yes.
What are we looking forward to the next 2 years? Kind of, what's? I mean, what could we? I'm already seeing a decrease in questioning governmental authority.
And more and more deconstruction of what doesn't work.
To the point.
More and more and more and more implementation of new systems to replace them, at first seemingly slowly, staying in the shadows, but eventually you will find that when the old systems begin to crumble, there will be new systems that will be there to take their place if, and only if, the people wish them to do so. For life does not happen to you. It happens through you. Well, do you understand that the physical mind, which is in a sense tantamount to what you call the ego structure, doesn't actually have the ability to know how it's going to happen?
Yes, and I keep trying to kick it out of the way when it tries to get in the middle.
Well, you have to learn how to negotiate with it. Mm-hmm. You have to learn to give it something. You have to learn to let it know that you appreciate it, that it's doing its job, but that's all it has to do, so that it doesn't have to bear the weight of the world on its little shoulders, which are not designed to carry that weight. You have to be nice to it. You have to treat it well.
Okay.
You understand?
Right, but can you give me a way to differentiate when it's the channeled information I'm receiving versus the ego trying to give information?
Well, ask yourself the question, do I really need to know this now? Do you trust the idea that memory is created in the present?
Yes.
Do you understand the idea that you will simply know what you need to know when you need to know it, and trust how your life unfolds to bring you the information when you need it?
Yes. It's just in the moment when it's happening to sit back and go, okay, this is happening for a reason.
Yes.
And to step back and let it happen.
Yes. Aren't you already a success?
Yes.
But? Is there a but attached to that yes?
There's a however.
Yes, oh, fancy but.
I know.
However. But. In general, those things which the earth consciousness grows naturally for individuals to explore with respect to the idea of opening up and expanding their concept of consciousness are for the purpose of entraining you to become familiar with a certain frequency that you can then recreate on your own. Right. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, very much.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right, well then put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you. Or they'll say, good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. We would like to begin this exchange with the idea that many of you have now begun to discuss in recent times upon your planet, of the idea of vortex vibrations. What is a vortex? Good question. Thank you. The idea, in the most, shall we say, simplistic terms, is that there are a variety of different kinds of vortices. Some of them you call earth chakras, similar to the idea of the chakra system, the energy system, in your own individual bodies. Some of them are simply what might be called run-of-the-mill vortices that exist in and around the grid of the planet, the energy grid of the planet, being that, in a sense, your planet is a type of crystalline form. There are certain nodal points, certain energy flows in and around it, in the electromagnetic field of your world. And these grid points, very often, culminate in the idea of a vortex. Now, again, in the most simplistic terms, what's the difference between a chakra point and a normal vortex? Good question. Thank you. The simplest way we can phrase it is by analogy. The chakra points are like faucets. The vortices are like drains. The chakra points pour into your world energy, radiate energy, give off energy that they tap into from a variety of dimensional planes, and from your Earth itself, and from your solar system, and from the electromagnetic field, regulate and pulsate these frequencies and emanate them into your world in a variety of ways to create a stable field in which you can experience the idea called physical reality. The normal, so to speak, vortices are where the energy flows go out. Now, this does not mean something cannot come through a vortex from another place, but the general flow is chakra in, vortex out. I'm going to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Good morning, class. Today we will be discussing the physics of intention. Now, like anything, intention has a specific frequency, a specific vibration of energy within the matrix of your total consciousness. This exchange of information, this transmission, will focus on the idea of allowing you to generate stronger sense of that vibration within yourself, to propel you forward, and specifically in the direction of that which you prefer. Being a vibration of energy, being a particular frequency, what we are engaged in today in this conversation is about the idea of purifying, more precisely, your ability to recognize that vibration, that frequency, so that you can bring to bear and to magnify and amplify that energy in all your endeavors as you move forward in life, and allow yourself more clarity, more vividness with regard to that which you prefer, regard to that which represents your dream, with regard to being more truly your natural self. Let us talk about the idea of tools. Every single one of you talks about the idea of applying some sort of tool or technique to make changes in your lives in a positive and constructive way. And we have had many discussions with many of you about the idea of exactly what sort of tools to apply, and how to apply them, and how to get a result, and how to get a manifestation. Now, of course, first and foremost, you are always manifesting something. If you were not, you wouldn't have an experiential physical reality, correct? Correct. So the idea is, you do not have to learn how to manifest. This is automatic. It is built into you as a creator, as an aspect of creation. You do not have to learn how to manifest. What you are simply learning is how to manifest more consciously, to be more aware of how you manifest so that you can manifest what you prefer, instead of manifesting your unconscious beliefs. The idea is to always, first and foremost, recognize that any manifestation that you create, any physical experience you create, is the result of the strongest definitions and beliefs that you hold within your conscious or unconscious mind to be true. Because that is how physical reality experience is created. Physical reality is really nothing but a mirror, a reflection of what you believe most strongly is possible, is probable, is true for you. This exists on both a collective level and on an individual level. In other words, you have a collective agreement about what is highly probable or not in physical reality, and you will abide by that collective agreement to a great degree. For example, most of you, not all of you necessarily, but most of you will agree for the duration of your physical lives that gravity will work. It is as simple as that. You have agreed to that particular physical parameter of experience. And unless you have a specific reason for canceling the idea of gravity and levitating or floating, which many of you might, then you will generally go about your day-to-day activities with your feet firmly on the ground. And that is all you need to understand about that part of the collective agreement. Many of these things are done on a level where you don't have to think about them, so that you can get on with your lives and not have to pay attention every single second to every single thought and every single belief and every single definition that is harbored within your unconscious mind. And that is as it needs to be, otherwise you wouldn't be able to simply live your lives. You would always be thinking, do I need to take this step? Do I need to take this step? Am I going to stay on the earth? I don't know. I might go floating away. I have to think about this. Obviously, that would take up a lot of your time, and that is something that will not allow you to just experience life in a natural way.
I feel really good day to day in my personal life.
Why do I sense a large butt coming up here?
I had a question. I feel like I've made a pretty strong connection to my guides in the last 6 months or so, and I just wondered if there's anything more you could tell me about them.
I thought you said you made a pretty strong connection.
True.
So what do they tell you?
They tell me lots of things.
Such as? Do they tell you, go and ask Bashar if you're right? Don't think that you're doing something wrong because you're not doing it exactly as we describe it. You are immersed in this frequency. You are immersed in this communication with us. You are immersed in this exchange with us. You are immersed in our vibration and yours as well. And the vibration of your own higher self, that's the most important thing. The physical mind has never had an idea. Never. It is not the place where ideas are born. Ideas, concepts, imaginings come from the higher mind. Do you want to then experience that nothing is missing?
Yes.
Be that you. And when you are that you, the synchronicity in your reality will start to change in a manner that reflects that nothing is missing. But until you are the you that knows nothing's missing, you can't actually have an experiential reflection that reveals that nothing is missing. But you see, what you're doing is you're invalidating the stepping stone. You are saying, this experience had no business being in my life. I would rather have done it another way. I am, in a sense, cutting this out of my path. It doesn't belong. But it did belong, or it wouldn't have happened. You have to catch yourself at every phrase and hear yourself spouting beliefs. If you're carrying around a belief that doesn't belong to you, that's called stealing. Do not be a belief thief. Give back all the beliefs that don't belong to you. You, when you're simply carrying the beliefs that belong to you, will feel light, free, effortless. The only time you feel weighed down is when you're carrying things that aren't yours. That is flipping the switch. I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. We would like to begin this transmission, this day of your time, with what we will title Asasani Stories. And in this transmission, we would like to share with you an Asasani story about Asasani storytellers. We have in our world a group of individuals who have chosen to function in much the same way that we have defined the group that I belong to, which are called first contact specialists, who are engaged in the idea of initiating and creating dialogues in an ongoing manner or in the first contact with certain civilizations that eventually may join our interstellar alliance. There are groups of people that we call the storytellers.
as Sasani,
Yes.
that means that
Well, that's the planet. The people are Sasani.
For the Sasani people.
Yes.
So the stories that you're getting from us,
Yes.
you're translating to them. So
yes.
it's like we're living Bibles kind of thing.
Yes, you
Bible
are.
stories.
Yes, you are.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. Want to say it again?
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. But one moment,
Okay.
rather than being just awesome, which is having some awe, you would want to be full of awe, which makes you awful. If you can begin to look at every single moment as its own reality for its own sake, with its own definition of being a moment equal to all other moments of experience, you can start to break this continuity experience down. You can begin to dissolve it, so that you actually can begin, if you want to, if you prefer to, if there is need to, if there's relevance to, you can actually begin to see skippages, if you will, in space and time. You can actually leap over certain steps and start to manifest things in a way that precludes the need for what you heretofore called the necessary means to the end, or the process. Whereas if you're simply using it as a means to an end, many of you become very impatient. You shoot right through it. You miss all the things you set up for yourself to learn by having created that experience with your belief system. You don't learn as much about yourself by thinking that you're supposed to be getting somewhere else. I've just got to finish that house. Oh, I wish I didn't have to build it. I've just got to hurry up and finish that house so I can start living in it. I've just got to hurry up and get through this process so I can get what I want. And in fact, you're actually ignoring the very experience that you designed for yourself to learn by, the process itself. You understand? Every moment, you're creating what you're experiencing. Don't ignore it. Don't set it aside. Don't shove it off. Don't send it to camp.
I'm lost in the moment and just
you are found in the moment.
found in the moment.
If you stay in the moment, you are never lost. It is
Okay.
when you go out of the present that you become the experience of being lost. Notice we said the experience of being lost, because you never actually can be lost, because you can only be here and now, but you can create an experience as if you were not. But it's only an experience. If you know that, then you can never be lost. You will always be your own breadcrumb
I understand.
that leads you back home. Will you answer a question for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
If I can.
You can. I'll just again use the terminology in the most typical way. Has any great change on your planet ever been created by anyone who wasn't crazy? Who didn't go against the grain of the norm? The answer
Very
is
good
no.
point. Yeah, good point.
Thank you. So why not join the club and be crazy? It's a nice club to be in. Then you will simply gravitate to and attract to you people of the same kind of crazy. And then when you are in a community of people who are all the same kind of crazy, you won't be crazy. You'll be normal.
All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. After the transmissions we have delivered for the past 40 years of your time, we now begin a new chapter, having reached the end of one cycle and the beginning of another.
The only other question I have at this time, it just dawned on me that like the work you're doing with First Contact, I was really happy to hear what the announcement you made about the next coming year. My question is like, what do we on this planet at this time, what do we offer in this exchange?
Many different things, many different perspectives, ways of experiencing life, ways of expressing your creativity that are different from ours. It enhances and builds and adds to our understanding of all the different ways that all that is has of expressing itself. Plus, again, the idea is that in the suggestions that we will deliver in the upcoming transmissions, we will see how you use your creativity to perform these acts for all those who are willing to follow these suggestions, take the actions, and increase their vibrational frequency to be that more aligned with the interstellar alliance. You will come at it from a unique point of view.
After one becomes enlightened, is there any steps along one's path of spiritual development, or is this awakening the last step?
Enlightenment never ends. There are always different levels to awareness and enlightenment and experiences of all that is. Even if someone imagines that they reach the so-called quote-unquote highest level of becoming one with all that is, becoming one with Source, there are still many versions of what it means to experience becoming one with Source. So even becoming one with Source is not the ending of enlightenment or awareness. It is infinite, goes on forever, never ends, there's always something else.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of great questions from our listeners.
All right.
This person is asking, what is the source of sadness and can it be avoided? Should we be striving for happiness or will it simply come to us if we follow the formula?
Sadness is the result of a belief and a definition of disconnection from Source. Disconnection is the idea. If you understand you cannot be disconnected, you cannot feel sadness. So in the idea of creating certain limitations for yourself, for your consciousness to experience, including the experience of disconnection, even though you can never actually be disconnected from Source, you can experience the idea of that disconnection as a kind of loss, and that can promote the experience of sadness. But yes, if you understand how the formula works, and you apply it precisely, then you also have the understanding, based on knowing how things work, that you can never be disconnected. And thus there is no reason to experience sadness in that way. So by
really precisely following the formula, it is highly unlikely for you to choose to experience sadness.
Okay, and this viewer writes about their difficult childhood. How can I recognize my worthiness of love despite a challenging childhood? If I'm inherently worth loving, how can I reconcile past experiences that seem devoid of true love and support? Additionally, do these experiences serve a purpose in contributing to the healing of painful childhoods for others on Earth? Are there parallel realities where different versions of me had happier, healthier upbringings, and what might be their soul goals?
Yes, and we're not going to get into the soul goals of parallel realities. We're going to talk to you about the idea that clearly what you chose to experience is something that would allow you to understand that you need to give yourself the love that clearly was not given to you as a child. So the theme that you chose to explore was the idea of going into an experience where you would be forced to be the one to give yourself the love that you need, because that's exactly what many people on your planet need to learn to do. Love themselves unconditionally, regardless of their experiences. So you can't look at it in a negative way. You chose to experience the idea of not being able to receive that as a child in order to understand that that's what you would want to go toward, that that's where you would be driven to go in that direction of seeking to give yourself the love that you believe you were not being given as a child. Paradoxically, by choosing the situation where you were not physically given the love that you sought, the idea is that that was a very loving thing that parts of your soul family were willing to do for you in order to give you the opportunity to experience how to overcome that, transform that, and give yourself all the love that you believe you were missing in your childhood. So it's actually an act of love that you didn't receive the physical love. It's not an excuse, not saying that it excuses any perpetrators of things like abuse, emotionally, physically, or otherwise. But the idea is that an arrangement was made so that you would be driven to seek the love within yourself, that you driven to seek the connection to source that would allow you to know you are worthy of love. But that's just the way you decided to do it, to prove how strong you are. Remember, Earth is a graduating master class. Earth is a tough school, but you're up to the task. And so you had the strength to come in as a spirit and say, I'm going to have the experience of being deprived of love so that I will be driven to seek it out and give it to myself, to learn to do that, to love myself unconditionally, to learn that I am worthy, to state that I am worthy, to insist that I am worthy. That is the lesson and the task and the theme here for you. All right, I'll say good day. This transmission we have titled 1 Minute to Midnight. Now, your society has coined this phrase in accordance with what it calls a doomsday clock, meaning how close are you in the entire global interactions going on your planet to the concept of self-destruction. How close are you to self-annihilation? Counting down the idea of an hour before midnight, they have said that you are now 1 minute to midnight, and maybe even less than that. Looking at all of the turmoil going on your world, and the idea that you are extremely close to a dangerous level of interaction that could lead to self-annihilation of the human race. But we would like to take that concept of 1 minute to midnight and reframe it in a different context to the idea now of those who are pursuing the expansion of consciousness, pursuing the idea of their spirituality and the adoption of more of who they are in the expression of their day-to-day lives,
and reframe the concept as how close you are to open contact for those who are walking that path.
And in keeping with the Halloween spirit, after Atlantis fell, you have said that Noah was given instructions by ETs to build his boat. How many animals were on it, and how did they get along? And if Noah had not done so, does this mean that many of our current animals today would not exist?
First of all, there was more than one being that you are collectively referring to as Noah. There were many such vehicles that departed and went in different directions. This is why you have flood stories in almost every culture on your planet that are very similar to one another, about a being in some kind of water vehicle that managed to survive the flood, carrying families and animals with them. So this happened in many different directions, and all of the different so-called Noahs, of course, who had different names, all landed in different areas. So the idea is, yes, had that not happened, there would be certain animals that wouldn't be among you today. But the idea is that there was a disbursement of many different kinds of species into different areas on your planet. And this was done by many different individuals who created many different kinds of crafts.
So I guess our version of it today is where we save all the DNA from all the different species so that if something cataclysmic happens.
Yes. And in some cases, some of the animals were in fact nothing more than DNA at the time. The transmission for this month of October shall be 1 minute to midnight. This phrase has been utilized by your society to indicate how close you may be to the idea of self-destruction. But we would like to reframe this concept to allow you to understand how close you may be to open contact. The idea of a clock that is 1 minute to midnight means you are relatively close to the idea of open contact in a variety of ways. And so, we will be discussing concepts surrounding how this clock is counting down to your experience of interaction with extraterrestrial beings in 1 minute to midnight. We will give you what is coming up next, for the next transmission will be all about parallel realities and you. We will describe exactly how your connections to different parallel realities inform and guide the life and the themes you are exploring in this particular time stream. So be prepared to allow your mind to expand interdimensionally by focusing in on the ideas we will share in parallel realities and you in our upcoming transmission. All right, we will say good day. The title of this transmission is Parallel Realities and You. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Let us begin by a brief explanation of how you can understand that there are such things as parallel realities. You understand that your scientists have been seeking what they call a unified theory for quite some time. The basic idea being to reduce everything down so that you understand how every phenomenon is the product and extension of a single fundamental principle, uniting everything, connecting everything, explaining everything. Well, this would have to be true not only for what they consider to be the forces of the universe, but for space-time itself.
This person would like to know what they have to do to move to a parallel universe.
You're moving to parallel universes all the time. Again, billions of times per second. Again, it is important to understand how things actually work. You're constantly shifting into a new universe, a new parallel reality, and thus again, by following the formula, you will navigate yourself through all of these shifts in the direction and constantly continue to experience different versions, different universes, different parallel reality versions of Earth that are constantly more and more and more in alignment with your core true vibration.
So what happens to the me in the previous parallel universe?
It isn't you. The idea is that's another person experiencing whatever it is they're experiencing. But again, you're talking about a timeline. Remember, the idea of parallel realities really are like static frames, static photos. So the idea is there is no real experience in any of those things except by the idea of the greater being, the greater self, the more expanded non-physical version of the consciousness that you are, choosing to experience all of these things simultaneously. Therefore, it's only from your linear space-time perspective that you appear to be shifting. From the higher point of view and the higher being that you are, you're experiencing all these things at once. There is no shifting per se. All of these parallel realities are experienced by the greater you all at the same time. So the question that you're asking is only from the linear space-time that would seem to be leaving a version of yourself behind, but it doesn't really leave a version of yourself behind. That's another expression of the greater you being experienced simultaneously by the greater you. You're all going on at the same time. The shifting is only experienced from the linear space-time reality.
So the fact that all of these frames are static and that the difference in terms of the story that gets created by shifting through those static parallel reality frames is that as long as your frequency is in the correct state by following the formula and being more and more aligned to your true self, that becomes the automatic navigational tool that will take you into the story that is representative of your higher frequency.
Yes. It's as simple as that.
That's what's so simple about it, is that once you get the knack at being your true self or being that frequency, that higher frequency, you can rely on it to bring you the things that are going to continue that higher state.
Yes.
And give you a good story in a sense.
Give you the story that is relevant for the personality framework that you have created for this theme of exploration. All the things that are relevant for you. All the things that allow you to experience your true vibration, your essential self. Yes.
So that's why it all works, because they're all static frames and you're the guiding mechanism that determines which frames you experience.
From the linear perspective, yes. From the higher perspective, you're experiencing all of them anyway.
All right. So
it is the physical perspective, the space-time linear perspective that allows you to individuate the frames, to experience them as a particular point of view, as a particular person. From the higher level, from the non-physical spirit level, you're experiencing all of them, if you wish to. So it is the physical reality that allows you to experience the idea of the frames one at a time, one apparently after another, to give you the sense of linear change, of movement, of story. Yes.
Yeah, because I guess if we chose to incarnate onto Earth and be a physical being, knowing how to navigate this reality really makes a big difference in terms of whether or not you enjoy your time here.
Yes, whether or not the story is truly representative of who you are. Physical space-time is for the purpose of experiencing a story. Your story. This story. As this person.
That's your potential. And that's what the formula allows you to do, is move closer and closer to that potential.
To that story that is you. Yes. To tell the story, to experience the story, to live the story that is uniquely this personality, this particular perspective. Personality is perspective. This perspective, a unique perspective, a unique story. You are a story. As a physical being, you are a story, a linear story.
It's very amazing.
It is. This is why story structure is built into you, built into your psyche. This is why story is so important in physical reality. It is through story that you remember most efficiently any information that you care to remember. Always through story structure is the way you retain it, because it's built into you, because physical reality is all about telling a story, living a story, experiencing your unique story. All right, good day. This transmission is titled Reflections. We have realized of late that many people on your planet, when we talk about the concept that everyone is a reflection for everyone else, have a misunderstanding of this concept. For many people on your planet have thought that when they attract someone into their lives, that the issues that that person brings with them is a one-to-one direct reflection of the issues in the person who has attracted them. And this is not necessarily the case.
How does one know when they found that partner? So I know I've seen a video where you said that the purpose of relationships is to reflect one another, what one needs to know to become more of themselves. How do you know that you are the version of yourself that is ready to commit and has learned that lesson?
You will feel freer, you will feel lighter in the presence of a person who serves you that way if you're willing to be open to it. You will actually feel more like yourself. You have heard this phrase on your planet uttered in those kinds of relationships, where people say, I feel more like me in your presence. I feel I can be expressive of who I truly am when you're around. That kind of feeling is usually a reflection of when someone is serving you to be more of yourself, because they are not judging you, they are accepting you for who you are and accepting whatever processes you may need to go through to discover more clearly who you are. And so that usually translates as feeling free to be yourself in that relationship, whatever that means at the moment. Free to explore being more. It's a lightness of feeling. It's a lightness and feeling of freedom. November's title shall be Reflections. November is a time when you are entering your winter month, a time of introspection, a time of self-awareness, realignment, and we will be discussing the idea which some people on your planet have found to be a little bit confusing or unclear about how everyone is a reflection for everyone else, and how to understand what we mean when we say that whatever comes into your life is a reflection for you. We will talk in more detail about how to understand that concept more clearly and how to utilize it more effectively.
So join us for Reflections in your November month. Good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Let us continue the transmission. This time, this segment titled Ringing the Bell. We are talking about the idea of Bell Rock, the center of the vortex, and why our ship is positioned above that. This vortex is connected to many others that form kind of a semicircle around it, spreading out across the lower southwest and to the west of your North American continent. But the Sedona vortex being the one that we are adding our energy to help balance out the energy of transformation, to make it smoother and easier for you to transform within the vortex, to use the vortex in more positive ways, to deal with the magnification and amplification that happens when you bring into that vortex whatever it is, positive or negative, that you bring in with you, so that you can let go of those things that are out of alignment and incorporate more of the things that are in alignment with who you prefer to be.
Last question. I just want to make sure the forgive is letting go.
It is not condoning the idea of a negative perpetration, but it is letting go. It's freeing yourself and disconnecting from that so it doesn't hold you back. Because otherwise you're just perpetuating it.
How can I work on that?
You don't work on it, you just let it go.
If I thought about it, I just stop thinking about it.
It's not stopping to think about it. It's letting it go in terms of any effect that it has on you negatively. You are free from it. You can think about it. You can remember it. It doesn't matter. You might forget about it, but it doesn't matter. Remember, it's not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your world. So again, we're not saying that you condone what happened, but the idea is that you can forgive in order to free yourself. Yes?
Yes.
It's not about forgetting the incident. It's about forgiving yourself.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
You are welcome. Today's transmission is a break from the steps. We would like to introduce a deeper explanation of the concept of what we refer to as soul cycle, the cycle of the soul.
Okay, and how do you combine genuine service to others with our unchangeable motivational mechanism, i.e., the mechanism that says we will always do things that are move towards what's good for us and away from the things we perceive as being not good for us?
All right, well, that is not worded correctly. The motivational mechanism doesn't make you move toward things that are good for you. It makes you move toward things you believe are good for you. Big difference. Big difference. Belief is the key. So you may not move toward things that are good for you because you have a belief that the alternative is worse. So pay attention to the idea of how the motivational mechanism actually works. It doesn't make you move toward things that are good for you. It makes you move toward things you believe are good for you, which may not be the case. So you have to have real honesty within yourself about why you are choosing what you're choosing and whether you're really choosing it out of anxiety or excitement and covering up the anxiety with what seems to be excitement so you don't have to look at the anxiety, so that you don't have to face the idea that you may be holding on to a belief that
choosing what is actually good for you would actually make something happen that is worse than what you're choosing now, even though it may not necessarily be in your best interest. So be clear in your understanding of how the motivational mechanism actually functions.
And so this person is mentioning that they think they understand the formula, but one part of it is still unclear. And that is, how does the formula tie in with good habits, discipline, and on a larger scale, routines, structures, jobs? Does following one's excitement mean disregarding all structures and routines? Is the formula inherently spontaneous and impulsive?
No. As I say, the formula contains the organizing principle of synchronicity. The organizing principle, that phrase alone implies structure. But it's the structure that works for you. It's the structure that allows you to flow. It's a structure, paradoxically, that allows for spontaneity. But it is still a pattern. It's still a structure. But it feels less like a structure because you're flowing within a structure that's natural for you. So you don't feel the resistances that often come with the artificial structures you impose on yourselves that are not natural for who you are. That's why it doesn't feel like a structure, because it's the structure that fits you. Welcome to the Interstellar Alliance social experiment, Step 5, the Volunteer Corps. This step involves you becoming more involved with your society in service to humanity in beneficial ways.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have so many wonderful questions from our viewers.
All right.
Okay, the first one is, can you talk about how the idea of service relates to ideas like sacrifice, giving things away, or doing things we might not want to do in some ways? Is that part of it sometimes, of compromising, of giving something up in some way? Or should authentic service always feel easy and natural?
Always easy and natural. We are not talking about sacrifice in that sense. Sacrifice would be to let go of a part of the self that you might actually need to be able to perform the services for others. So it's not about sacrifice. It's not about giving up a part of yourself that is important for you to retain, to be yourself, your authentic self. When you are being of service as your authentic self, when you are helping as your authentic self, it will always be smooth and easy and giving in a loving way. It is not about the idea of feeling deprived. If you feel deprived, then you are not necessarily going about it in a way that is actually service.
Okay, thank you. Is service something that we need or should surrender and give ourselves away to and do for free? Or is it all right to be paid and supported for our services? What's the role or distinction between volunteering versus the forms of service where we are working and getting paid?
It is absolutely fine to be paid for the services that you provide. When we talk about the idea of volunteering, it is mostly for the purpose of getting you to step outside your normal routine, getting you to start investigating and exploring what other connections you may not ordinarily think of making with people, with situations, to be able to expand your view and your perspective of what other people are going through in situations that might be unusual for you were you to simply continue in your normal routine. So the idea of the volunteering that we are talking about is to sort of get you outside yourself, outside your normal routines, to explore something new and different, where you can be of great help, be of great service to others in a new and unusual way, especially for people on your planet who experience things like depression. It is one of the strongest ways that you can get out of your depression is by suddenly going into a voluntary situation where you now have to help other people who may be going through similar things, or even things that are more difficult or more strenuous than what you have been going through, so that you can gain some perspective and understand your relationship to the idea of the situations that those people may be experiencing. This is primarily the reason why we suggest the idea of the Interstellar Alliance Volunteer Corps. All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. The transmission today will be the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 4. Again, as a reminder, all of these steps, if you are willing to participate, need to be done in continuation at the same time, all of them, according to the timing that we have delivered. The idea today is about identity. Many people on your planet now are talking all about the idea of identity. How do you identify? I identify as this. I identify as that. Well, it's also time to start identifying as a member of the Interstellar Alliance if you are participating in this social experiment.
This person is saying that lately they feel like there is something wrong and unconscious with pretty much everything humanity is doing to the world. They're having trouble focusing on the positives and letting themselves enjoy things. They're saying, if I watch a TV show, I feel like I'm supporting corporations and capitalism. If I buy a treat at the store, I feel off about the wrapper or the packaging contributing to waste. If they want to take a trip somewhere, now they're worried about their carbon imprint. They can't afford an electric car, etc. They even get hesitant about ordering business cards to put themselves out there in the world because of the paper, ink, shipping, and so on. Even watching this transmission online or using the internet uses servers and energy and fossil fuels. I'd like to relax about some of this and flow and enjoy my life, but I'm worried about voting for the reality that I prefer and with my actions and don't want to make any mistakes. Is this level of attention to detail about ramifications of every choice in our lives necessary, or am I just punishing and restricting myself unnecessarily with all of this? Can we be...
You are punishing and restricting yourself unnecessarily. You are overthinking things. The idea is you're holding yourself back and you are not allowing yourself to move forward because you're using all of those things as an excuse to not move forward. There are ways you can go about doing all of those things that are at least in some way, shape, or form more in alignment with the way you would prefer to do them. And if there isn't, the idea is then do something about making changes in your society that would allow you to move forward on those things so that society can perhaps learn to do them in different ways that are more beneficial to all. But the idea is that you are simply focusing on all the negative things, which only increases the negative energy. You are compounding the negativity by being afraid to move forward because of what you believe to be negativity itself involved in all of those things. Don't use it as an excuse to not move forward. If you're going to allow changes to occur that are positive, you do have to take some actions, otherwise nothing happens except a reinforcement of the negativity that you are perceiving, but getting caught up in terms of all these details. So don't use it as an excuse to not move forward. Allow yourself to know there are ways to do things that are more positive, and if there isn't, then you have the opportunity to invent ways of doing things that are more positive, or teach others how to come together to think of new ways using your creative imagination. That's what it's all about. So if you see something that you are vibrationally not compatible with, then do something in your creative imagination to change those things to be more vibrationally compatible with the reality that you prefer. Don't just sit there and refuse to move, because then you're just reinforcing all the negativity that you are choosing to focus on. Alright, I'll say good day. We will now deliver the information and the transmission that we have titled the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment Step 1. We would like to explain this concept now that we have entered a new cycle in your year of 2024. Because we have delivered information to you over the past 40 of your years, thus completing a cycle of humanity, which are typically in 40-year segments, we now begin a new cycle, a new form of interacting with your society, a new level of transmission, a new guidance of actions and participation and suggestions for what will bring you closer to the vibrational frequency of the Interstellar Alliance and closer to the vibrational frequency of open contact in the years to come.
This person is asking, why should we attempt contact? Why work towards it? Where is this leading to? What happens next?
There are no shoulds. You don't have to work towards it. As we said in our monologue, you can move in that direction, or you can choose not to. You can choose to do some of the actions in the steps that we are suggesting, or you can choose to do some of them, or you can choose to do none of them. It's completely up to you. So we would answer your question by asking you, why are you involved in these conversations with us at all then? Do you get some benefit out of the information that we share with you? Can you imagine how much more beneficial information from different members of the Interstellar Alliance may be in terms of you choosing to adapt some of that information into your life and expand your awareness of what's going on, not only on your own planet, but in the universe at large? So it's up to you to exercise your imagination and creativity in understanding how much more expansive your experience of life could be when allowing yourself to move forward toward the interaction with many different perspectives, many different kinds of beings and civilizations, in much the same way that you expand your reality by choosing different friends, different experiences on your own planet. So it's really up to you to decide if you're getting benefit out of the information we have been sharing with you for the past 40 of your years. Can you not imagine how much more beneficial it would be to start engaging with a multitude of such beings who have all sorts of different information that could benefit you as well? But again, it's up to you. So there are no shoulds. You have free reign and free will in determining what it is you're going to get out of making connections to members of the Interstellar Alliance.
If you don't do the social experiments, how will this decrease our chances of contact?
Well, it will not decrease them, but it will not increase them. So the idea is that these steps are designed specifically now, at this time, involving the actions that you are willing to take, specifically to increase the vibrational rate and align the vibrational rate toward more interaction with ETs that are part of the Interstellar Alliance. But again, it's up to you to determine what percentage you will be willing to take action on. And that will be directly representative of the percentage of the vibration that you will achieve
to create alignment with the interstellar alliance. So let us say, for example, that over the course of the next year of your time, including step 1, there will be roughly 11 steps. And then going on into the next year after that, there will be more steps, perhaps of a different nature. But looking at it on an annual basis, a year-to-year basis of all the steps, let us say you are willing to do all 11 and every single aspect of them. Well, obviously, doing all of them would put you in a position to be closer in frequency to the idea of the interstellar alliance connection to whatever degree we have taken you there at that point. Whereas doing half the steps would bring you up to about 50% of the vibrational frequency necessary to experience where we are guiding you in your interactions with the interstellar alliance and so on and so forth. So you can look at it as a relatively representational one-to-one ratio of how many of the steps you do as representative of the percentage of the frequency you will achieve within you. All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time, and welcome once again to the transmission of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 6, which is titled Gatherings.
Who created the technology for our souls to have a human, physical, and subconscious experience?
Your spirits did. Your souls did. If you're talking about the idea of why it exists that way fundamentally, well, again, that's simply part of all that is to experience itself this way in what you term the experience of physical reality. In this particular dimension. There are other ways to experience physicality. There are other ways to compartmentalize and experience psychological effects in different parallel realities. But in this particular timeline, this is the way physical reality is experienced. This is the mechanism or the quote-unquote technology, as you have called it, of how the soul experiences itself as a physical being.
How many humanoid beings are there in the Milky Way and neighboring galaxies that we interact with on some level?
You interact with an absolute minority of humanoid beings. There are many, many, many humanoid beings, millions upon millions of humanoid beings, and millions upon millions upon millions of others that are not humanoid at all. You interact with a very small fraction of humanoid beings, mostly Pleiadians and hybrids and grays, some others as well. Sirius can be considered to be somewhat humanoid, even though they are amphibious and bear more resemblance to the idea of a salamander, but still possessing the bilateral symmetry of a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, which you would loosely call humanoid. But you interact with a very, very small fraction of the humanoid beings that do exist, and an even smaller fraction of beings that are not humanoid at all.
Thank you, Bashar. We've run up on time. Is there anything else that is important that you want to share with us?
Allow yourselves to know that you have accelerated greatly in the past few months and brought in more rapidly what you would term a future that is more resonant, more vibrationally aligned, and more highly probable in the direction of open contact. It is not so very far away in terms of time that it will begin. A couple of years. It is imminent in its beginning. Open up, participate, act, join, communicate.
receive. All right, I'll say good day. We now deliver the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 3.
Now, this person is asking about the formula, and they say they live by the formula, but they can't seem to make it work.
Then they don't live by the formula.
Right. They're saying that I was raised with beliefs like work before play, you have to earn your fun, life is hard, you can have too much of a good thing. I find it incredibly difficult to find and change the belief systems behind these. How can I learn to feel joy and passion and be sure that I am living the formula as a self-organizing principle?
Well, again, you have to actually live the formula, which you're not doing, because you're not allowing yourself to redefine some of those belief systems in certain ways that serve you. For example, when you talk about the idea that you have to earn the ability to be happy, you do not have to do that. You have to understand that joy is a natural state that belongs in your spirit, that is an expression of spiritual existence. You have to understand that the definitions you have are not working for you. You have to understand there are other definitions that would work for you and be more in alignment with the idea of what the formula is telling you, of what the formula is saying and how it works. So you have to match the definitions you have with the way that the formula has been described to you as working for you to your advantage. If you hold on to definitions that are contradictory to it, then yes, you are not using the formula. It will not work because they are of a different frequency, of a different vibration than the vibrational frequency of actually following and acting on the formula in the way that it has been delivered to you. So examine these definitions in a way that allows you to reinvent them, to understand that you don't have to hold on to them in the way that you have vocalized them. The idea is that, yes, of course, there will be challenges, but challenges are fun. Yes, of course, you have to take physical action, but that does not have to be a struggle. It does not have to feel like, quote unquote, work in the negative sense. Of course, you are physical and will have to do things physically. But when you are going with the flow, when you are being your true self, then all the definitions that you are now saying that don't work for you can be rearranged and reinvented to understand how they can work for you, such as what I just delivered to you, what I just suggested. That work does not have to feel like a struggle, does not have to feel like an effort. There are certain kinds of tensions and pressures that are positive and creative. Again, you have to allow yourself to feel it that way. Because when you are being creative, when you are being yourself, again, of course, you will have challenges because challenges help you grow, help your soul grow, help your spirit grow. So the idea is that there will be a kind of pressure, a creative pressure there. But the pressure that you experience in a positive sense is not the same kind of pressure that you experience in a negative sense. The pressure you experience in a positive sense is a kind of energy momentum that encourages and urges you to move forward, to take action, to be yourself, to be centered, to be true to who you are. The kind of pressure that you experience in the negative sense is the kind that allows you to feel overwhelmed, that you're not doing enough, that things aren't good enough. The idea that you can have too much of a good thing is what sets up the negative pressure. Now, we understand that some of these phrases that exist on your planet are done to make sure that you don't become egotistical about it. That's really the reason that some of them exist, so that you can always have a check and balance system
in case you are worried that you will become too egotistical, too out of integrity, too out of alignment. That's the only reason they exist. If you recognize them simply as a check and balance system that can be understood lightly, and you understand you're always willing to check in with yourself to make sure that you are remaining in alignment and always within your integrity, then it's all right for now and then to experience that you might step a little bit outside of it, because you know you will always bring yourself back into alignment by having that check and balance system. But the check and balance system is not meant to be a rigid shackle on you that prevents you from exploring, that prevents you from being yourself, that prevents you from knowing that happiness is your birthright. So you have to take these things that you have said, these admonitions, these phrases, these sayings, a little bit more lightly as a check and balance system, just to make sure that you're staying true to yourself and not see them as such a rigid set of rules that cannot be broken in any event for any reason whatsoever. Just keep them as an understanding that you are always willing to be aware of when you are in or out of balance, and you can move forward by acting on the formula in a freer way that allows you to know you will always pay attention to what you're doing, you will always ask why you believe what you believe, and you will always check yourself to make sure you're remaining true and within integrity to your core vibration, your essential self. So treat those phrases more lightly, and you don't have to necessarily feel so impeded by them to be yourself and feel joy in your life and be a creative, imaginative being who is more than capable of following the formula and experiencing the ease and flow of how your life will unfold in a more natural way. All right, good day. Welcome to the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 2.
I lived my life for years in a very joyful and happy way. So about 1 year, this changed literally overnight. And my question is, how can I reconnect to this? Well, should I reconnect? Should I trust that it will come when it's important for me?
Yes, you must allow your life to unfold. It is important for you to go through processes sometimes. The experience that you are describing is allowing your body consciousness to get used to the idea of higher frequencies, which sometimes it may treat as if it is dying. Exposure to higher frequencies may make the body consciousness feel like it is dying, and so that may incite survival mechanisms within you. But it is something that you are going through to allow your body consciousness to be more in alignment with your higher mind, your soul itself. And so, yes, the joy can come back more consistently if you are being of service to humanity through some particular action that represents your passion. So the more that you can interact and act with humanity in service to humanity in whatever way your imagination and creativity so directs you and so guides you, will allow the joy to come back into your life in a more consistent way.
Wow, thank you. That helps.
Hello, Team Bashar. Through following the formula as best I can, I realized that I had a negative belief that basically was saying I can't create what I need, or, distilled completely down to I'm separate from all that is, which I know is not true. And then through recently focusing on using the AAA formula in the last month, I realized after seeing Bashar at the last CLE that I have a reinforcing mechanism that is saying that if I do get what I need or prefer, that it's actually going to cause more suffering. So my question is, can I continue just using the AAA formula? Will that be enough? Or do I need bigger guns? Do I need a bigger permission slip or some insight from Bashar that would help me finally let go of these fear-based beliefs that I've been using and believing my whole life. Thank you so much.
You can continue to use the AAA formula, but at the same time, what you really need to do is have deeper investigation into the motivational mechanism of why you would continue to hold on to something you say you don't prefer. So you have to ask yourself what you're getting out of holding on to it because you believe something worse would happen if you let it go. That's the key, the motivational mechanism of understanding what you believe would be the worst thing that would happen if you let go of holding on to the negative thing you're holding on to. Because you believe that somehow holding on to that thing you don't prefer is actually serving you better than letting it go. You are afraid that letting it go would cause something worse to happen. You've said so in your question. So it's the motivational mechanism that is the key of understanding, and you have to find out what it is you think holding on to this negative thing is preventing you from experiencing that would be worse. So you need more, deeper, honest self-investigation as to what that would be and why you think something worse would happen and what that worst thing would be. It's not a fact, it's just a story. You have to really wrap your mind around that. It's not a fact that something worse will happen. It's just a story. But you're telling yourself that story or buying into that story and believing that story, and so it feels safer to hold on to what you're holding on to, even if you don't prefer it. Because again, you keep believing that the alternative would be worse. So you need to clarify what that actually is to you. All right, I'll say good day to you. We will begin with this transmission, which we have called The Three Behaviors of Connection. And they are timing, communication, and action. Allow us to elaborate. This information is not only for the purpose of strengthening connections between each and every one of you as humans upon the earth, but also between the humans of earth and the hybrid beings that will eventually come to live among you. Because there are certain kinds of vibrational frequencies, certain states of being, certain energies that are very important for establishing strong connections between the hybrids when they eventually come to live among you upon the earth.
This person is saying that they've been doing transformative shifting exercise that you created for the precisely 80 days nonstop. One of the biggest challenges they're finding is that several negative beliefs about their self-value is coming up, and they don't know how to fully love themselves under the circumstances. Is there any hint?
Let's go back to the motivational mechanism. This is the purest form of understanding why you choose to do what you choose to do. Why you choose to believe what you choose to believe. Why you hold on to things the way you hold on to them. Experiencing the idea of feeling unworthy of self-love means that you have attached to the motivational mechanism a belief that says loving yourself unconditionally carries with it somehow effects that you don't prefer, that you believe are more negative than what you're experiencing by continuing to experience a lack of self-love. So you have to really dig deep in your honest self-investigation on your motivational mechanism as why you would hold on to something that says you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying not loving yourself, and yet you consistently keep doing so. So you have to have a belief that says you're getting something out of continuing that path rather than letting go and going in the alternate way. You have to find out what you believe would be so bad about loving yourself that you refuse to do it. So you have to examine your definitions, what you've been taught in life, what you've been brought up with, and really reach that kernel, that core belief that says, Refuse to love yourself because the alternative is worse. You have to find out why you would believe the alternative, that loving yourself would be worse than not loving yourself. Is not loving yourself safer? Less alienating to people? Making you more like everyone else so you don't have to feel too different? You require yourself to examine all these different and other possibilities of why you would hold on to something you don't prefer, because you would not be holding on to it if you didn't think the alternative would be worse. Always go back to the motivational mechanism of why you believe what you believe or why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, because it always has to do with what you believe to be true and why you would believe that doing something different would be worse than what you're doing now, as painful as it may be.
This individual has been battling anxiety for most of their life. They meditate and they're on a low-dose medicine, which helps. Can you suggest a method for me or this person that can be more in the moment and to stop ruminating and worrying about things that they can't control?
What I have just said to the other person will also work for this person. They need to meditate and focus on the idea of the beliefs they have attached to the motivational mechanism within them and ask themselves the honest question and revealing question, what am I getting out of these ruminations? How is it serving me? What am I afraid to let go of that I think would be worse if I did? They have to really focus on the idea that they're continually choosing to ruminate on these things to prevent themselves from going in a different way, a different direction that they have a belief says it would be worse than where they are, as stuck as they may feel. So they have to have a little bit more honesty and deep investigation within themselves and admit that they're choosing to ruminate on these things to prevent them from going in a different direction, to be aware of other things within them that they may be afraid to face. They have to strip themselves away and really look at the core being that they are and why they are holding on to these things, repeating them over and over again, and what they're getting out of doing so and what it prevents them from realizing. All right, good day, greetings. Your upcoming transmission will be titled, The 3 Behaviors of Connection, where we will go over the ideas in detail behind the 3 behaviors that can allow for more powerful connections, not only between each other on Earth, but also to the idea of the hybrids that will eventually live among you. The idea is that we will explain that the 3 behaviors are communication, timing, and action. And we will go into detail about what each of those means and how it pertains to forming more powerful connections, not only with family and friends, but even has applications in your businesses, and also, though it may not seem so, applications for upcoming contact. So join us and connect with us for the 3 behaviors of connection. All right, good day. The next transmission will take a break from the steps, and we will inform you about the idea of the connection between the physical mind, the soul, and the oversoul, to understand more clearly the relationship between those 3 levels of consciousness, how they relate, what they experience in each level. So join us, if you will, for the transmission that will talk about the connection between the physical mind, the soul, and the oversoul, which we will term 3 different perspectives of consciousness. All right, we greet you and invite you to participate in the upcoming Sedona Experience event. On day one, we will be talking about and discussing the different phases of open contact that will be occurring in the near future and how they might play out on your planet, what the first indications may be, so that you can understand how we may approach showing ourselves to you in ways that will allow you the opportunity and the timing to get used to our presence. And we will be discussing this on day one so that you can understand how open contact may physically unfold on your planet in the years to come. On day two, we will be discussing things that you can do, steps that you can take to accelerate the idea of open contact. We will to some degree be discussing the Interstellar Alliance social experiments, next steps, but we will also be suggesting some additional steps that each and every one of you can take to help accelerate the concept and the experience of open contact on your planet. So we invite you to join us in the Sedona area on your planet to discuss the idea of how you may prepare and how you may experience the unfolding physically of open contact on your planet. The next transmission will be in the Interstellar Alliance social experiment, step 6, about forming gatherings and participating in any gatherings that already exist to reach out in either meditation or whatever way, shape, or form is of interest to you, to call forth the UFOs, the UAPs, the ships, to gather in places where it may be conducive to see our ships, to participate and interact by shining lights, getting a return, a response, to begin to establish two-way communication in the areas that you gather between yourselves and the ships, similar to what some of you have already been doing in what you call your CE5 experiences. But now, taking it upon yourself to not only join such experiences as have already been organized, but also in any spiritual gathering that you may attend, to also inquire as to whether there are individuals in that gathering who at another time would like to get together in some locale nearby, to also create a two-way conversation, to send messages and lights, either in meditation or physically, to see if they can attract a response from any ships passing by, for there's a lot of traffic around your planet. So creating new opportunities for two-way communication in these gatherings, as you may create them, is the next step in opening up communication that can lead to open contact and accelerate that probability for your reality. So by all means, be willing to create, to participate in such gatherings so that we can establish a stronger bond, a stronger link, and stronger communication between our respective societies that will lead to the idea of open contact in your near future. So join us in this endeavor, in this part, in this step of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment. All right, good day. The next transmission will be to deliver Step 5 of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment. Step 5 will be called the Interstellar Alliance Volunteer Corps. We will be discussing ways in which you can volunteer to do different things that will be in service to humanity, that will increase the vibration of connection, increase the vibration of action, increase the flow of energy within yourself and the flow of your energy to others by volunteering in certain ways to be of service to your society and to start the momentum of opening up to sharing, to giving, to receiving in a heightened way that will allow for more acceleration of the energy toward open contact. So join us, if you wish, for Step 5 next time in our next transmission for the Interstellar Alliance Volunteer Corps. Your upcoming transmission for your new year will be titled Countdown to Contact Year 1. We will go over processes, procedures, outline, things that are important for you to focus on if you are excited about the idea of experiencing open contact in the years to come. This will be a link from what we are and have been talking about now for the past couple of transmissions about our true nature and the changes and shifts that are important to make within your own energy in order to make you more open to the idea, more capable of experiencing contact with beings that are very different from yourselves. So, if you are passionate about doing so, please join us for the idea of Countdown to Contact Year 1. It is of vital importance that you understand the concept that we are going to be delivering, as it leads to your ability to experience contact in the near future. The idea of the transmission we will be delivering is called Into Worlds, in which we will be describing how we truly exist and what the effect of our vibrational existence is on humanity, explaining what is necessary for humanity to shift to a vibrational state in order for contact to occur smoothly for you. Into Worlds, the true nature of our reality. All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. After the transmissions we have delivered for the past 40 years of your time, we now begin a new chapter, having reached the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. This new chapter will entail a different approach to the delivery of information that we provide for you, all falling under the banner of Countdown to Contact, Year 1. And thus we will begin another part of the journey together, if you wish. For this year, each subsequent transmission will be titled Countdown to Contact, Year 1, Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment. For the first month, it will be Step 1. This Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 1, and the subsequent steps in the following months that will be delivered intermittently will be all about providing you with exercises and actions that you can take that will align you more clearly with the vibrational frequency of the Interstellar Alliance as preparation for the idea of open contact. These steps, this social experiment, will involve your willingness to take certain actions that we will describe that will be challenging for some of you to apply into your society. This doesn't mean that you have to do what we will suggest, but if you are willing to take the steps that we will outline, it will bring you into closer vibrational connection with the idea of open contact and the idea of the frequency of the Interstellar Alliance. All right, good day. By now, you will have received our initial transmission in the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment Step 1. So, let us explain how this will unfold, how this will proceed. Each transmission will deliver another step. So next, it will be the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment Step 2. We will deliver the subject at the time, but it is important to understand that when we deliver these steps, Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, and so on, it is not that you finish one step and then do another. All of these steps are cumulative, additive. You will continue to do Step 1 while you're doing Step 2. You will continue to do Steps 1 and 2 while you're doing Step 3. So it's not doing each step by itself, but adding each new step to the idea of your actions, to your daily routines, and so forth. As we have explained in our initial monologue for Step 1, the idea is that you don't have to do these things, but each time you do, you allow your vibration, your frequency, to bring you closer to the vibrational frequency of the Interstellar Alliance and the vibrational frequency of open contact. So it's up to you to what degree you participate. But we will deliver next time Step 2 to build upon the previous step and move forward from there So join us if you are passionate about doing so, passionate about open contact. Join us for the next transmission of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 2. All right, good day. The upcoming transmission for Step 3 of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment will be all about sending a particular letter, a particular statement with specific wording to several different official individuals regarding the idea of disclosure of UFO information. We will dictate a very specifically worded transmission that is to be sent out in a certain way at certain times to various individuals around your planet regarding the idea of disclosure. This is what will be involved with Step 3 of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment. So again, for those who are willing to join us, for those who are willing to participate in this social experiment, we invite you to attend Step 3 in our upcoming transmission. All right. Next time, we will deliver Step 4 of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, which will have to do with creating, for each of you that are willing to participate, more of an identity within the Interstellar Alliance. Again, it is up to you to decide to participate, but we will provide you with something that will allow you to practice identifying yourself as a member of the Interstellar Alliance as part of this social experiment. We will describe and design how this will take place in terms of your interactions in society, in any situation where you are required to provide identification. So we will take you through this fun experiment to begin to allow yourself to have a dual identity, that of someone identifying as an Earth human and identifying as a member of the Interstellar Alliance. So join us for the continuation of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment when we provide Step 4 that has to do with claiming your identity within the Interstellar Alliance. Good day, greetings. The upcoming transmission for your Sedona event will be titled, Welcome to Sedona, the Interdimensional City, where we will explain how the portals and the vortices in Sedona can connect you more strongly to extraterrestrials, to spirits, to interdimensionals, and to parallel realities. We will go over each of these and discuss how you can synchronize and harmonize with the different frequencies for each of those kinds of connections and take advantage of the multidimensional nature of the vortices in Sedona and surroundings. We will also have a nighttime meditation to act as a link and a bridge between the transmission on the first day and the transmission on the second day, which will be titled ringing the bell. It will be not only an open question and answer period, but also a discussion of harmonizing with the vibration of the vortex directly over Bell Rock, which is where our ship is. So join us for this exciting transmission in Sedona. All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right, we'll take that as an okay. We thank you all with deep appreciation for the co-creation this day of your time of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission. Our unconditional love to you all, and let us begin. We have titled this transmission, Sedona, the Interdimensional City. The idea being that because of the nature of the vortex of energy that exists in this area, it is connected to many different realms, many different realities, many different dimensions. And so we would like to discuss the ways in which you may use this portal, this energy, to connect to more of yourself, bring more of yourself through, that being your greater self, not just your physical minds, but connecting more readily with your higher mind, with your greater being, with parallel realities, with Source, and your guides, and all who are willing to be of assistance to you.
Okay, next question. 2 days ago, a friend of mine took a photo of the moon in Los Angeles, and there was a triangle UFO. Is that you?
No.
What was your message at that time?
It is not me, but it may be another member of my species. I'm not the only one that has a triangular UFO.
Wow. Oh, I see.
My ship is still exactly above us now in Sedona, above Bell Rock. How far?
Yeah.
At this particular moment, 1,000 feet.
Oh. Cross.
900 feet.
Wow. Great.
800 feet.
I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, back to 900. You just scared me. $700 feet.
Oh.
Where it will remain for a while.
Namaste, Bashar.
And to you, good day. Shivai.
Thank you. You spoke earlier about our being on a higher vibration. Can you? And I've heard you speak.
I
about,
didn't, but I did.
Yes, Bashar did. I would love to know, and I've listened and I hear you about being our true self and the joy.
Yes.
What else can we do to accelerate our enlightenment or our raising our vibrational frequency?
Perhaps I have not made myself clear. There is nothing else that needs to be done but be yourself by acting on your highest joy to the best of your ability, with integrity, without expectation, every single moment. That's all you need to do to accelerate as fast as it is possible for you in your chosen life path, in your chosen process, to accelerate. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. I know that you humans love to complicate things and make them seem like they have to be more difficult than that. But it isn't. That's all you have to do. And thus then, at whatever rate, if you do that, at whatever rate your life does unfold is the appropriate accelerated rate. And when you trust that, you will see that it is so. You will experience that it is so. It's only when you don't trust your own process and your own rate and your own life that things paradoxically actually slow down. Because if you're not allowing what is to be what needs to be, if you're not using what's happening as if it's supposed to be there, as if it's not, then you're not using the stepping stones that get you to the next place. If you deny any aspect of your life, you are removing the stepping stone you need to get to the next one. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But the only way you will get to that point is to take the first step. And then when you take the first one, take the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And you will simply see your life unfold as it needs to, presenting you with the appropriate opportunities, meeting all the right people at the right places at the right timing, in order to learn what you need to learn, to do whatever it is you say is an expression of your joy.
Good day, greetings. We are now undertaking the transmission to talk about what people on your planet have called the silver cord. The idea of the silver cord, it is that perceived by many who have sensitivity to it, and perceived by those sometimes who are experiencing out-of-body and near-death experiences, as the energetic connection, the electromagnetic connection between your physical version of self and your spiritual version of self. It is the connection that represents the idea that as a spirit, you have projected your consciousness into the dream of physical reality. And as long as you are still experiencing a life as a physical personality, as a physical being, this connection, this extension comes from your non-physical higher mind, your soul self, into the dream of physical reality and is perceived as this scintillating, energetic pathway.
Here's a question about shifting through realities.
Yes.
How is it that when we are shifting billions of times per second to already existing worlds, that we are not, quote unquote, kicking out an existing version of ourselves already there? And how is it we now have that person's past if we have not replaced them? Please, if you can, go into detail here, as I've heard it explained before, and still I can't seem to allow it to stick.
The reason it's not sticking is that your concept is erroneous in the idea that things are stuck where they are and you're replacing it. Like it's not moving too. Everything moves together. Everything moves at once. You shift, they shift. The idea is that you're all constantly shifting, so nothing is ever standing still. You're not replacing anyone. You may be taking over, euphemistically speaking, the spot that they used to occupy, but they don't occupy it anymore. Again, look at a stream or a river. Waves move through it, and all of that, and water flows, and all of that. But one water molecule is, in a sense, not taking over from another water molecule. The other water molecule that was there a moment ago has moved on downstream. So it's all moving simultaneously. Nothing is being replaced because nothing is standing still to be replaced by something else coming in. Everything is moving simultaneously.